Bang. Folks, it is once again that time, 1 p.m. Eastern time, when we bring you the Rebel's Edge with Pete Najarian and me, Jon Najarian. And we are delighted that you've tuned in for the Rebel's Edge. Pete, we got a lot to talk about, a lot of stocks, and we got a clock running already. So I guess we better jump into it, huh?
Let's do it. Let's rock.
All right, first one, folks, solar. We talked about it a week ago. More than once, we talked about that bill working its way through Congress was going to benefit charging stations like Blink and ChargePoint, was going to benefit solar stocks, going to benefit Tesla or any EV maker. Well, guess what? Sunrun, a stock, Pete, that we had for unusual activity, just bang to the upside. Boom. But it's also a cautionary tale telling you about how you have to take profits when you can, because it popped from 33 to 37. If you got greedy, it came all the way back down to 34.5. That's a cautionary side of use your discipline, right, Pete?
Absolutely. It's all about discipline, John. We talk about it all the time. We talk about it, when we're on television and as well as on all the webinars that we do. It's probably the most number one thing that's involved in trading because it keeps you around. It gives you the opportunity and you've got to take advantage of that. And you just talked about Sunrun. What if I gave you a solar edge? We've had that as well for unusual. SunPower, First Solar. When you look at some of these names, John, and the moves that they have made in the last month, a lot of that predicated on what really was in this bill. There was a lot on the healthcare side, but it was a whole heck of a lot in the clean energy side. First Solar went from 72 to 108. I mean, these moves are absolutely extraordinary. They're big and they're strong. And now we're going to jump to the next one. Speaking of big and strong, how about a little Bed Bath and Beyond, John? This is one where you've got a massive short squeeze that is absolutely beyond when you look at how short people are in the stock. But we've gotten to a point now where the stock is sitting there at a level that is basically, call it near or at 52-week lows. So when you're down there, now there's a little bit of a wrestling match that goes on because those that are short, they want to stay short because they're pigs. They've had a great run. They still want to be short. Then there's the other side of it, John, where you start to see some of those buyers that look over and they say, well, I can see what the short interest is in here, and this thing is just ripe for a squeeze. And I think that's what we're seeing really play out right before our very eyes is that short squeeze that you start to see things move up in multiples that are absolutely extraordinary. Still a company that's losing money, but they think that they can fix it with margins. They've got some insider buying. What are you thinking about this one right now, John?
Well, Pete, I'm thinking that the smart way to play it is not to chase a stock that's up 41% in the day.
That's crazy.
But if you're somebody that thinks that maybe, like Pete said, there's a short squeeze going on, which means people who have borrowed the stock to sell it short are getting called in. Well, one of the best ways to play that would be through options. Yeah. So you can express that opinion that maybe it goes higher still without risking, a stock that's already gone up 41% in a day, Pete. Mm-hmm. So absolutely. That's the way that I would play it. I would, and we noticed unusual call activity today, Pete. People buying upside calls, smart way to play. You can risk a little to make a lot rather than saying, well, this $6 stock's going to go through 12 and 14. What if it pulls all the way back? I'd rather risk that little bit than risk a lot. Because, again, Pete, that's how we've been in this game as long as you and I have. Yep. All right. How about, Pete, if we move on to the next one, which is also getting a lot of chatter, and that's Upstart. This is a lending platform that basically does it through an algorithm and through allegedly AI, artificial intelligence. So flying 15% higher. You haven't been real intelligent if you bought it at 350 last November. Pete.
I heard a lot of people loving it. There were people loving it.
There were a lot of people on CNBC that loved it too, Pete. Probably people on Fox, a lot of the talking heads that don't really follow the innards of these companies like Pete and I do were like saying, oh, at 350, this thing could see 700. Well, now it's 32 bucks or whatever, Pete,
Well,
34 bucks. Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs both put out some positive comments on them in the
right.
last few weeks. And I guess because it's got such a huge
Huge.
short interest also, Pete, that you could play for upside in this one.
And you can only do it. You don't want to do it in stock, John, because you're literally putting yourself into a position where nobody knows where it's going to go. If they did, why would they be all just so excited when it's triple digits? It's 300, 400 bucks. I think it actually capped out, John, at 400 in the last year.
Wow.
But either way, doesn't matter. It's all the way back into the 30s, as you mentioned. They're burning through cash. They're doing a lot of things that they can do that are pretty good. But when will they make money? Again, when you're burning through cash and everybody's looking at a stock like this, there's a lot of different reasons why you got to be very, very careful. When you see that short interest the way it is, it becomes another part of the meme world that we all talked about when we talked about AMC and we talked about all these others, GameStop and so forth. This falls into that kind of a category where things can get really wacky and you better be daggone careful. It's where the derivatives markets give you at least a chance, John. Next one we're going to get up on is Amazon. Amazon, John, has been exactly what we talked about when we were on and on television and talking about what happens to stocks when they do a 20-for-1. Everybody's pushing against it. They say, well, nothing. Everything's exactly the same. Well, there's partial truth to that, right? I mean, yes, we understand that. But there is something that does change with fundamentals because now you get more volume. Now you get more volatility. Now you get more access. All of those things do change some of what's going on. And oh, by the way, normally, and this is playing out absolute textbook, John, normally you're going to outpace the S&P in that first year after that split. Well, all you got to do is go back to June, look where Amazon was, look where it is right now, and do that right up against the S&P. The answers are all there. Yes, it's outperforming by a great deal. And the access that people always wanted and never had for Amazon, John, they finally have access. They can trade options. They can do buy rights. They can do all kinds of things.
Yep. Pete, this is just a fabulous play.
Yep.
It's a stock that I own. Full disclosure, I own both shares and an option spread. And the stock was 110 July 26th. It was under 110. Today, it screams all the way up through 142 or 144, something like that, Pete. And it's done what it should do. It had a rough patch during a very aggressive selling period in the market, but that's all it was. I think it was going down with the market. It didn't have individual news. Pete, right. I got to give you credit for ChargePoint because massive buy a few weeks ago, and that stock has worked out fantastic. But I'm going to let you get to your stock in a sec, Pete. I'm just going to update people on Nikola. Also, of course, an EV play, NKLA. They were buying 30,000 of the August 10 calls. 30,000. Now, these calls expire not this Friday, but next Friday, the 19th, not the 12th. So 10,000 of those would be 1 million shares. 30,000 is 3 million shares. I love the trade, Pete, with the stock here at $8.88, $8.88. That's where they started buying. Again, another one that should benefit from some of the stuff working its way through Congress. I like the trade. I'm in the trade.
And then you go back over, John, and you take a look over at ChargePoint and you say, wow, all they do is come in and buy 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, 60,000. I went back to August 2nd, John, which isn't that long ago. We're in the beginning of August still. But August 2nd, stock was trading, around 15 bucks, which is great, or something close to that, 13, wherever it was. And it made a little bit of a move. That's great. Let's just say it was 13 and it goes to 15, just as a number. You'd be pretty happy with that if you bought shares. You'd say, hey, that's pretty good. Well, what if I told you when they bought 60,000 of last Friday's expiring calls that were the 15 and a halves, stock went out at 16. Those calls went from 25 cents to 50, actually 28 cents to 50 cents in value, a little bit more. That's doubling your money, right? I mean, last I looked, I think percentage-wise, I'd like that side of it versus the stock side of it probably every day of the week if I had my chance. Well, they're back and they're continuing to buy, and that's what we love about the derivatives markets, John. They're back again today. Now, this is going to have to play out this week. It's very short term. 51,000 of the August 12th expiring, that's Friday, the 17.5 calls. Stock was a little bit higher. It's pulled back a little bit with the markets, but they were paying a little over 50 cents for those options. So that one I think is absolutely intriguing. Charge point, they've been right, and they've been right. So why wouldn't I want to be following along with that kind of option paper? So that's what I'm so excited about today, John, and it kind of builds right into what we were talking about. Hey, Charge Point, Nikola, you go through all the solars. Hey, we just put up what, a couple $100 billion, actually more than that, just to throw it at all these various companies. Well, it's paying off already.
Yep. Well, Pete, time to just mention quickly, RebelCon 2022 is going to be going on at the Four Seasons. I jumped the gun. It's not going to be a Ritz yet. It's a Four Seasons, and it's the Four Seasons in Dallas, Las Colinas. And it's a fabulous resort, folks. It's going to be 4 great days, September 21st through the 24th. If you can get there in person. You'll be begging to get a ticket 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now, and we won't be able to help you. But if you go now to marketrebellion.com/Dallas, you can still get a ticket. Put your significant other, grandfather, grandmother, grandkids, whatever, in the pool. Let them have a great time at this great resort, and you come on in and learn how to really master options trading. Bryn Talkington, Brian Sullivan, all of our crew. Enough said. marketrebellion.com/Dallas. Check it out. All right, Pete. Let me, I know you came up with this one, which is, who would you rather have of all the freaking great football players that weren't first round picks? They weren't second round picks, or maybe they got to those levels after their college careers, but they had to walk on to get there. Tell us about some of those guys, Pete.
Well, the guy I'd focus on first, John, would be Baker Mayfield. And the reason I say that is, he catches a lot of flack for a lot of different reasons. Some of it deserved. He's put himself out there. He's great with the commercials and everything. But let's go back to who Baker Mayfield is and why I think he's the greatest walk-on in the history of college football. So the guy walks on at Texas Tech. He's sitting behind a guy who's a starter, obviously, and that guy is ready, but unfortunately gets hurt. Baker Mayfield steps in. In his first game, John, he throws for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's 43 of 60, and the job is his after that. And then he absolutely just dominated, but he had to move on. He had to take a move to go somewhere else because eventually they wanted to get the starter back in there, and that's exactly what they did. So Baker Mayfield decides he's going to go to Oklahoma, gets to Oklahoma. Not too much going on early on, but by 2015, after starting his college career in about 2013, the guy throws 3,700 yards. He goes 36 touchdowns. He only throws 7 interceptions. He does pretty well. Not so bad for a guy who's a walk-on. He follows that up with a Heisman Trophy, 4,600 yards, 43 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And oh, by the way, he's the first player taken in the draft by the Cleveland Browns. So here's a guy who walked on at Texas Tech. He could have got scholarships other places, but he was a walk-on. Then goes to Oklahoma, and then he does that. I mean, the guy is a special guy who absolutely has the confidence that he had to go in there and just say, you know what, this job is mine. I'm going to dominate. And oh, by the way, the last college game he played, they did lose to Georgia, and it was a dogfight out there, legitimately a dogfight with the dogs. They lost, but I'll tell you what, it wasn't because of Baker.
Well, Pete, I can't disagree with that one, but I'm going to give you one that I think is on a par with that.
For sure.
And that is J.J. Watt, because J.J. got the ride over to Central Michigan. And then, basically either got homesick or just got tired of it, whatever. He quit the team. And I'm a guy who has quit Division I football teams and moved on to another when I thought the opportunity was better. He didn't do that. He left, Pete, and he was delivering pizzas. Then one of the kids, true story. One of the kids that he delivered a pizza to in Madison, Wisconsin said, "Aren't you J.J. Watt?" And then he gave the kid the pizza and went back to his car and he started crying. This is JJ saying this. He said, I started crying. I said, I am JJ Watt. What the hell? So he went to Wisconsin to the AD and he said, look, I want to play. And he said, well, we knew you had the talent, but we're not giving you a scholarship or anything. So he walked on too, Pete. One more quick story about him. I know we got to wind up. Quick story about him. Did you see on DraftKings, Pete, when JJ posted a picture of himself throwing the football, and DraftKings response to that tweet was intercepted. And then I got to read you what JJ said back to them, Pete. So JJ responded back to DraftKings because it was the official DraftKings account that said that. He said, you might want to think about intercepting some profits sometime soon. And then Pete, turns out the stock had gone from $63 last September to 12.
Yeah.
And he says, and you're giving me crap? That shows you how salty this guy is.
Yeah.
That's why if you're lined up against him or his brother, you're in for a dogfight. Pete already used that phrase. I'm going to reuse it. You're in for a dogfight all day long. There is no quit in either of those Watt boys.
No.
And I just love watching both of them play, Pete.
Yep, they are something special. Next, John, we're going to jump on to what's going on with the Cleveland Browns. So you've got an owner who decides he's going to pay a guy who's got, I don't know, 60 different gals who think that he maybe didn't do something proper. And we go to court. They give him a 6-game suspension. And then now the NFL basically said, well, we're going to go at least 1 year. I'm using that as a backdrop because Baker Mayfield, who we were just talking about, no longer plays for the Cleveland Browns. He's down in Carolina. So that's not an option. So the folks that they've got there, they've got some decent backup quarterbacks, but they're still looking, and they obviously aren't going to have Deshaun, at least early on, if at all this year or next year. Who knows? But, John, Jimmy G. Now, Jimmy Garoppolo is an interesting guy. He's already 30 years old. He had surgery on his shoulder. He's got a lot of different baggage out there, but Mike Tannenbaum, who's a friend of ours and a great guy, thinks that that is the move that should be made. The Browns need to sign Jimmy G. What do you think? Has he got it, John? And is he a winner even if he is the starter? Is he a winner?
I do think he can be a winner, Pete, in the right system. I think San Francisco was a right system for him. He came really close, obviously. I mean, he pushed some of the best teams, including the Rams, right to the limit. Yep. So I can't exactly say, that Jimmy Garoppolo isn't a winner. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to say he is a winner, and that I would agree. I think our buddy Tannenbaum, again, hi, Mike, love you. I think Mike is dead on. I would definitely sign him. Of any available quarterback, Pete, I think this is a guy that, knowing that you're not going to have Deshaun for a long time, this is a guy that I'd want sitting back there making the play calls.
I think I would agree with you. I think it's they got to do something, John, if they want to be competitive, and they've got a lot of other pieces of the puzzle. It's the quarterback spot where they obviously have to find one, and it isn't easy because in the NFL, even though there's 32 teams, I'm not sure there's 32 good quarterbacks, but Jimmy G, I think, would fit in really, really well with that system. So it could be pretty interesting. We'll see how that all plays out. I just love talking college football, NFL. It's that time of year, John. We're not in the fall yet, but these summer months just kind of kick it all in. The butterflies are going on top of these sharks I got on my shirt. So it's a lot of fun. I'm excited.
Well, and you should be excited, folks, because as you probably know, we're expanded to 3 days a week right now. So you can catch the Rebel Edge 3 days every week, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Let us know what you think. Send us some love and or questions. You already know Pete's handle, at Pete Najarian, mine, at Jon Najarian. Send us some questions. Tell us how much you like the show or what you think we should do different. We love to hear it. And we'll see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time.
Hit that subscribe, hit that like, giddy up.
Bang.